All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the 13th session of the Schoolyard Forest Design Lecture Series. My name is Lauren McKenna with Green Schoolyards America, and supporting me today are my colleagues Allison Torres, Michaela Randolph, and Aisha Ersalan. Today's agenda will include an intro from us, our guest presentations, followed by some brief Q&A time. This series is a part of the National Schoolyard Forest System, whose goal is to increase tree canopy and shade students from extreme heat. This large-scale initiative is in partnership with CAL FIRE, the California Department of Education, and 10 Strands. In the Schoolyard Forest System library we have online, there is a comprehensive overview and detailed summary of schoolyard forest benefits. This relates somewhat to today's topic, as well as a resource specifically about health benefits. There's lots of cited research and resources, which can be especially helpful in building up an argument for living schoolyards. Note that we have yet to include research that will be shared today, and we keep learning more and more why this is so important. Related to applying this research to design, one of our friends and former GSA staff, Nancy Strinisty, who's based on the East Coast, has been creating earth-friendly, child-friendly landscapes for many years. And her book, Nature Play at Home, is a collection of her expertise, ideas, examples, and research. She also shared some of these ideas at a previous design lecture series with us about a year ago with some other colleagues, and we'll share that with you again. Really excellent presentation. A reminder that today's free lecture will be publicly available on our website next week. We're hoping to have at least one or more of these lectures in the coming season, that we don't have any scheduled on the calendar at the moment. So please check our website, our periodic email newsletters, and social media for updates. In the meantime, please do join our ongoing community of practice for schoolyard forests hosted by our GSA colleague, Michaela Randolph. These sessions are also free, feature school districts and organizations who are engaged in schoolyard forest efforts, and it's a way to connect with fellow schoolyard greening advocates. Typically, they are the third Thursday of each month at 11 a.m. Pacific time. The last session featured amazing collaborative work from San Antonio, Texas, lots of inspiration. The next session is Thursday, February 20th, featuring schoolyard forest efforts in Alabama. So please register at the link in the chat and invite your friends. So I would be remiss to not acknowledge that some of our work and the work of many of our school greening organizations is funded by federal grants, including the Inflation Reduction Act. These investments in children and the future have planted many seeds for green schoolyard work. We're well aware of the unfortunate uncertainty around some federal funds these days. And we know that many of you and your communities, neighbors, students have various reasons to feel scared, unsettled, and uncertain. However, in these shifting times, we are still committed to offering resources and opportunities, such as this webinar today, to gather and learn, to envision and co-create the future we hope to see. We're with all of you in facing these uncertainties together. Climate writer and marine biologist, who is amazing, please look her up if you're not familiar, Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, asks us, what if we act as if we love the future? Many of you do practice this love of the future every day by showing up and advocating for young people. We hope that we can instill that love and hope through our work as well. We fully believe that green living schoolyards and schoolyard forests are important for every single child, and we will continue to prioritize communities that are in most need. So thank you everyone for being here today and supporting this work and our work in all the ways that you're able. So today, our guest speakers will discuss research on how exposure to natural schoolyard materials versus artificial materials benefits children's health, including a healthy gut microbiome. This research points to yet another reason to design and promote nature play opportunities, living schoolyards, schoolyard forests. Examples will also be shared. So to introduce our wonderful speakers, Aki Sinkkonen is a principal scientist with the Natural Resources Institute Finland, is the head of research consortium, ADEL, the Autoimmune Defense and Living Environment, and head of Nature-Based Solutions Research Group at the University of Helsinki. His main research interest is the effects of everyday living environment on health and understanding cross-disciplinary data. His long-term research interests include the impacts of pollution on microbial communities and plant growth, soil remediation, and the ecology of autumn leaf colors. Kristian Åbacka works for school ground development with the Education and Culture Department at the Regional State Administrative Agency for Southern Finland. He is a senior advisor there. He has a background in education and public service. He actively supports Green Schoolyard initiatives that promote healthy growth. He's a member of the International School Grounds Alliance, where he advocates for global collaboration on the sustainable development of school grounds. And last but not least, Claire Robinson is an expert in planning and implementing multi-objective community-based watershed and green infrastructure projects. She's founder of the Altadena, California-based nonprofit organization Amigos de los Rios, which seeks to create an emerald necklace, a natural infrastructure network of green spaces, green schools, parks, and trails throughout underserved communities in the Los Angeles basin. She has a background in art, architecture, urban planning, and business, and enjoys working with young planners, designers, and architects. She has 12 years experience teaching architecture and design at multiple universities and is a visiting critic at schools all over the country. She and her organization, like many in our area here in Southern California, have been directly impacted by the fires, and we are especially grateful for her presence today. And we are grateful for our colleagues from Finland for coming at this late hour in their time zone. So again, thank you for being here, Aki, Kristian, and Claire. So I will kick it off to Aki. Take it away.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the title. I will talk to you about my research or our research, so the environmental interventions we have done. And I start with a little bit of history. Do you now see the second slide, hopefully? Anyway, 120 years ago, people in Finland were burning forest for agricultural land. Now you should see a painting. One of the persons in the painting is my son's grandmother's mother's aunt. So it's not so long ago. And at that time, there were plenty of environmental microbiota everywhere, and people were exposed to environmental microbiome. So at that time, people were exposed to environmental microbiota. Most of them were harmless microbiota, harmless bacteria, very slow-growing bacteria that live in nature everywhere in the world. And nowadays, the situation is very different. This is Finland today. Here you see where it is situated. We have 4 seasons, and in the center you can see lawn remover. It's at the daycare center yard, and there's a typical yard. There's hardly any vegetation. There's hardly any organic soil. There's hardly any microbiota. So, and this is, according to the current understanding, this is a main reason why immune-mediated non-communicable diseases are very common in Finland and many other developed countries. And there has been plenty of research that there's an association between green environment and low disease risk. And this is an example from our study where we measured the environment surrounding the birthplaces of Finnish babies. There were 1,500 children. They were at the risk of type 1 diabetes, and we observed that the development of type 1 diabetes was delayed if there were plenty of agricultural environment around the birth address of those risk children. And this story is global. Here's young Barack Obama in Kenya, and he was grown when developed countries, the children still lived in a quite rich, microbially rich environment. But his daughter lived a very safe childhood without unnecessary contacts to potential pathogens. So basically safe environmental microbiota. And this may be one of the reasons, or maybe quite often it is the main reason why people get allergies. I don't know how it is in Obama's daughter's case, but this was the scientific background. Okay, now we started research on interventions. So we inserted vegetation to daycare yard. So here you can see we have put the forest floor, lawn, planting boxes, and organic microbially rich soil. We did that at several daycare centers in Finland, and we studied how this affected immune markers of participating children and microbiota on skin, in saliva, and in stool. And this study lasted for 1 month. And what we observed that immune modulation enhanced. And in detail, we, for instance, saw that regulatory T cells, they became more common in blood when there were plenty of certain types of environmental bacteria, for instance, gamma proteobacteria. And these type of results, they, in those comparable, in other studies, they have been linked to low risk of immune-mediated diseases, so those non-communicable diseases. And we also saw similar changes in skin and gut microbiota that have been connected to low disease risk in other studies. We only did the study for 1 month, and we followed the microbial changes for 1 year, and they remained. So they were still visible after 1 year, but we didn't study disease incidence. We didn't have enough children in this study. Okay, this is a close-up photo of the children at the rewilded yard, and we also studied we asked the daycare personnel, and they reported better air quality, toilet spraying became more common, better coordination among children, and concentration increased of the children at the yard. Then we started placebo-controlled double-blinded trials. In the first one, we mixed regular sandbox sand with 2 types of organic soil. The first type was composted soil. It was, of course, safe. It was a gardening soil, and it had a very high microbial diversity and richness. And the placebo, it consisted of peat, which looks the same, but we know that it has low microbial diversity, low microbial richness. And in 2 weeks, we observed that immune modulation enhanced. Then we did another, actually I will also tell that in this sandbox study, children in both placebo and intervention groups, they were advised to play with sand for 2 weeks. Here you can see a photo about that. And after that, there was a 3-week follow-up period when the sand was still available, but they played freely. And we observed that the differences disappeared because children were not necessarily in contact. Otherwise, during the first 2 weeks, they were in contact with soil 20 minutes 2 times a day. But after that 2-week supervision period, there was not so much contact because no one asked asked them to be in contact. Okay, and but we did also another intervention trial. It was also a double-blinded, placebo-controlled, and it was so we recruited adult participants, and they did indoor gardening indoors using either this peat-based soil with poor microbiota or microbially-rich organic composted soil, and they didn't know which group they belonged to. And we ran this trial just before COVID-19, and that's why the trial lasted only for 4 weeks, because after 1 month it was not possible to go there anymore and take more samples. But in both experiments, this is the result screen. You can see in the figures that IL-10 means interleukin 10. It's an immunomodulatory marker cytokine in blood, and so it was enhanced in the intervention group, but there was a slight decrease in the placebo group, and the difference was significant in these separate trials. The people here are the first authors, Maria Rusund and Mika Saarenpää, so who took care of the trials, and these are the main trials we have done. We are currently running several trials. We do not anymore add only plants, but we also add plenty of decaying wood in different forms. In this yard experiment, you can see that we have added wood chips and also logs inoculated with edible mushrooms, and then we also have planting boxes. And then we also in this trial, we asked people to change their behavior so that they let nutrients be circulated by degradation at the yard, so that leaves are not collected in the autumn and green or dead plant parts, they are composted, and this changes the microbiota to the direction that is good for humans' immune health. Okay, then I want to tell, this is actually, I guess this is the last slide, that the worst case scenario for daycare yards or schoolyard is it's a yard that is totally sealed, because it decreases the abundance of microbes, and then it also distorts the microbiome, so the microbial community. So according to our research results, it would be very nice if all urban children would have a possibility to spend their days at the rewilded yards. And these photos are from Romania. It's a former socialist country, and we compared the modern playgrounds and then playgrounds that originated from the socialist period. And the socialist period playgrounds, they are nowadays quite wild, and while the modern ones, they have this rubber surface, and there's a difference between the microbiota in the same way as elsewhere, at least as in Finland, and it's sad that those rubber mats are used so commonly. Yes, this was the presentation. I hope it was around 10 minutes, and now there's space for questions, or if Kristian talks first. So thank you very much. Kiitos in Finnish. And this is also a close-up photo of a rewilded yard in one of our rewilding trials.
Yes, thank you so much, Aki.
So here I am 10 years ago, and there is one of the reasons why I'm here, Sharon with me in Tokyo, Japan, and it was 2 years ago. I went to a minister and said I had tried with Aki Sinkkonen to improve green grounds, school grounds in Finland, for now 8 or 7 years, and nothing really happens. We need some national funding for this, for adaptation of the nature, because as you see in Aki's presentation, it's good for our health. And last year we got then 1 million euros for greening daycare centers or kindergartens. And this is one before and after picture. And the normal Finnish ground is lots of this kind of rock material on kindergarten grounds, but we transferred for lawn and different types of balancing equipment and wood and stones. And why was the reason for this national grant? How did we get it? So we wanted to improve movement of children, children's play, free play, and children's contact with nature. As Aki said, it's very important. Adapting to climate change was one of the reasons. Biodiversity on the grounds, employee comfort of work, comfort of living there, and possibilities for outdoor pedagogy more, and then also less bullying. This was one of the reasons why we did this grant. I asked the people, the kindergarten who got this money, how did the project progress these things? And from 1 to 5, they said it's especially children's movement and playing will become much better after this project. Climate change and biodiversity was sadly the thing that they had least progress, but still quite good progress also in these things. About the effects of these projects, they said that especially children's comfort and movement increased. The new yard has improved children's comfort and increased the movements, like forest play, for example, and these outdoor pedagogy possibilities. More safety and activity. This activity, they said that the more activity there is then less bullying situation among children, which sounds very good. And then the environmental effects, more biodiversity on the grounds, and then adaptation to climate change. About this funding, we got 1 million state money for kindergarten grounds, and the municipalities could search money from us. And one project couldn't cost more than 100,000 euros, and we have a max 30% grant, so they have to have 70% of own money. And they built these grounds last year. And we funded construction of to adding more nature on the grounds and more physical exercise conditions for these children. And the challenge must produce climate change must be taken into account, and they have to involve children and staff and families in the project planning and also in the construction if they can. And these have to be open 24/7, these kindergartens. In Finland, we have all the kindergartens are open all the time. You can go there on the weekends also. Here is our lovely country, and as you see, we get these 42 projects where all around. Also in Lapland, we have some close to the Russian border, there are some projects. So it was nicely shared. Here is one picture from Lempäälä also. You see the swings and climbing equipment is the same in both pictures, but this kind of wooden chips and lawn and trees planted, and quite easily by changing the ground materials, we got also more lovely places to stay for the personnel and the children. Here is one rainwater handling for play in Lempäälä. How they take rainwater from the roof and put it there to play for. And the most common yard improvements in these projects were they built a balancing area made of trees, planks, and stones. Gravel yard was changed to lawn, forest ground, or tree chips. And these artificial plastic safety pads that Aki showed from Romania, they was changed to more healthy safety chips, tree chips. And yard fences were moved further away, so more space for movement and more nature also. Some trees and bushes were planted, stormwater management. They built stone streams, stone ponds, stone ditches, and new terrain. Small hills were improved also. Here is one before and after picture from Kirkkonummi, and you see this traditional on the left old Finnish ground, and you can see the red artificial plastic pods, and they would change it to this wooden chips over there on the right. And on the right side, you see some, we call it forest floor, forest ground or something like this. We change in that area also, this balancing with stones and rocks and stones. Then I jump to this picture here in Åbacka, city of Åbacka. They put the fence a bit further away so they could get a stone and more nature on the kindergarten ground. And this next picture is also wonderful. How you easily can get a schoolyard or daycare center forest, kindergarten forest, by putting the fence over there in the forest far away, so you can play in this nice forest here with the children. We asked Aki Sinkkonen and his colleague Anna Lukkonen, what should we improve in the next? We should have the staff more strongly involved, because the staff spends a lot of time. They should be even more involved in this yard renovations. And the temperature control of yard should be more also in Finland. The heat is a problem on these yards. There isn't enough places in the shade, and even in the height of the adult, the heat and dust sand feels painful, normally sunny summer. And the children are much closer to the ground, so it's they react more sensitively due to their size. But sadly, in Finland, there is still this persistent idea that the colorful safety platforms and fancy play equipment are progress in many of the municipalities further away from Helsinki and center. In the big cities, this is not really the topic anymore. But still, also in some big cities, we have some lack of knowledge. Here is one picture, some planting boxes, and how you put some stones, rocks around the sand pit, so the sand doesn't go everywhere. And I could try to share just one more. Here about this transformation, and we could see this is a very normal kindergarten ground in Finland, quite much gravel, stone, and this is a problem, especially in summer. It makes quite dusty place and not a good place for human being. And how we try to make this better than place for human beings. So this was the result. The wood chips for safety, and some grass areas. And here is also for rainwater solution. The rainwater comes from the roof, and they can play with the rainwater in this concrete river. And here the same concrete river, and here you can see the chips. And here we can see some children planting the berry bushes, and there is some new trees planted also to the right. And this was then added with forest floor in this area. And the future in these projects, we just need stop share. Future about this thing, we need more research about what is the situation in Finland at the moment. How much green ground, how much leaf area cover we have in Finland, and we hopefully get that kind of research soon, so we can tell the people who are in charge of this ground that we have to develop them more greener and more better places for our children and also the adults who works there. Thank you. Kiitos.
Thank you, Kristian. And yes, agreed. The more we understand our environment and data, the more we can come up with these wonderful solutions. All right, I will pass it off to Claire.
Great. Thank you so much. I love the work that we've seen so far. It's really inspiring. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very grateful for this network. As you said, Lauren, it's definitely uncertain times in the Los Angeles basin. We've been working for about 21 years to try to really do what we call a landscape scale conservation project. And we're inspired by the 1930 Olmsted Bartholomew Plan that was commissioned by the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. And it really outlined how we could be a world-class sustainable city. And the population base in 1930 was not balanced with the amount of open space. There was kind of a lack of open space at that time, which has just been exacerbated. But big picture, schools were envisioned to serve as much needed parks. I love the idea that kindergartens are open 24 hours in Finland. So when we started 21 years ago, we met with our local tribes to understand how life unfolded along the river corridors. And this is our Sangiro River and Rio Hondo River. And we tried to see how we could take a microcosm of the bigger watershed and effectively embed it in every school. So lots of great partners in that process. And just to be honest, lots of real challenges because many of our school districts are facing population decline. There's a lot of staff turnover, facilities are aging. There's not the same private sector rigor in protecting your archives and making sure you know what you have when you're doing new work. Facilities departments are really under capacity and there's no real staff training for natural infrastructure. In general, I think we're probably 20, 30, 40 years behind in responding and having empathy to the impact that students, that students feel from climate change and the whole school community. So these are some of the challenges and the reason why we're so adamant about turning classrooms inside out. This is a project in Monrovia in LA County where you can see the Angeles National Forest. The children are sitting on boulders from the forest outdoors underneath a legacy tree. So we're trying to really connect the forest and the Sangiro Mountains that the students see every day. And because of their demographic, they may not have visited the forest and bring it onto campus and kind of provide a human face to school infrastructure, which in California, you would think would be amazingly indoor out, as far as temperature and the ability to conduct things outdoors. So we've been talking about this green lasagna, this layering of all the wonderful multiple benefits you can have if you start bringing trees onto a sports field without interfering with the sports, or if you start diversifying what you can do for phys ed and really taking to heart the work of Richard Louv and the fact that children need nature. If we think back to how we grow up, the time we spend outdoors, and it's really, really hard when you see the typology in California. It's very penitentiary based, control, panopticon, surveillance, and then also clarity and interest and ease for the facilities team to blow and mow and care. So our nonprofit really embraces the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights because we really have to be the advocates for children who can't speak to the distorted microbiome and their immune deficiency that Aki mentions and all the other terrible challenges of not having access to nature. So we have benefited from Cal Fire and Forestry grant funding to experiment and this green lasagna, managing stormwater and improving the urban forest canopy and bringing biodiversity to campus and really allowing children to find their own way to play within more nature-based settings and protecting our greater watershed. So the big things that jump out that need total reform with our boards of education is the amount of heat that we are currently experiencing and the projected heat that we will experience moving forward. It's getting into the extreme danger area on a regular basis. And I think what we're finding is a lot of the boards of education have not caught up with this definition of health and safety, and kind of insist on allowing black asphalt, which is a petroleum-based product, to be poured onto the dirt as if that is going to provide safe surfaces. When we talk to students, it's a very menacing surface. The heat is really scary, and the need for an urban forest and concerted health safety planning is critical. So we're very, very grateful for the database that Green Schoolyards America did for California to help point out this issue in more scientific terms, all the red spots being schools that have deficient canopy. So we've really embraced that, and we use that data reflected back to schools. We work with about 10 different smaller school districts in Los Angeles, and drainage challenges are coupled with mosquito and vector issues, and also with a terrible inhumanity of excluding students with orthopedic challenges or neurodiversity who need surfaces of travel that are more inclusive. So the benefits mentioned by the Aki and Kristian of physical fitness, mental health, pedagogical, lessons outdoors, same. We're working with the same thing. And we really want to question, what is health and safety today? What are we looking to provide for our students? And certainly nurturing inclusive spaces that foster student mental health and that are supportive of child-centric educational specifications and these other issues that I mentioned should be our bottom line. And it requires that we totally rethink the materials science of our facilities and our campuses. And we change the power structure of who's defining what should be there and how we can move forward with new policies and regulations. So our nonprofit has focused on Title I schools for the past 21 years, seeing each school as a microcosm, trying to help students see where they are in the greater watershed. And each project is really multiple projects within a project. So the whole world of the front of school, where parents drop off at the threshold and pick up, and that can be a little pocket park for nice social exchange and a really good handoff of the students to the school. The main play yard, where they spend most of their time, per the Green Schoolyards guidance, 30% shade minimum. Sports fields can easily serve as a place where you have 80 accessible paths and trees. Every single quad and courtyard is a potential location of a magical inside-out classroom, and parking lots can also serve as part of the watershed, urban forest and stormwater. So here's an example of one of our projects from 2015, very typical asphalt with some drawings. We brought native plants that had spiritual, medicinal, structural, edible values to the area, and we started cutting the asphalt with a story about creating an off-road bicycle training and tricycle and meditation garden at this elementary campus. So here we have cut the asphalt, added depressions to capture stormwater, added cool pavement, and generally a lot of trees and shrubs. It's grown in over time. And this is what we call, a natural infrastructure, green infrastructure campus. So kind of taking traditional campus, which is asphalt, some grass, and a perimeter of chain link, and bringing a more tactile learning while we help students get their place within the greater watershed. Do they live near the mountains? Stormwater and capture is something that's critical for us for our water supply long-term, but also so that areas that are underserved, that don't have a thorough storm drain network. You can see in turquoise, this elementary school is in between a lot of storm lines, but is not well served by the storm drain system in LA County. So it's regularly flooding, which causes a nuisance to teachers, students, and parents, and causes students to get wet on the way in. So we took this campus and applied our green lasagna, our natural infrastructure elements. You see it's receiving a lot of water from the north and we tried to see how we could interrupt the water, infiltrate it, and transform the campus with a lot of different moves that are actually really fun. So this is the situation with flooding on the campus. We added pervious pavement and an infiltration gallery, a bioswale, a lot of rain harvest, and a ton of trees to improve the soil. This is the same classroom. So we're really looking at the nexus between stormwater management and water infiltration and treatment through running it through natural media, and then preventing flooding, enhancing drainage. There was a lot of mosquito issues at this school, very hot. So providing that shade, habitat, and consequently air quality, and just basically making a lot of fun spaces to play outside. So here's our removal of the traditional asphalt in favor of gravel. This is the bioswale. We have a pervious path around the sports field where the water drains from the parking lot. This is a new outdoor eating area on top of pervious pavement. And here's the campus, natural infrastructure campus. So when we work with students and community members to do these projects, and we also don't leave once we're done, this is just to show how many events we hold, more events in the first year when we first do a campus, and then what we provide for our labor and materials and what the community provides. And we're just generally championing the idea that multi-benefit solutions are really fun, and expanding the definition of what landscape entails, creating these little areas of more complexity and more interest to connect students to nature. Another quick example of a school that was traditionally that flooded for decades. So this was the kindergarten area, a little bit menacing for the students. We work with an engineer to create a series of underground rain harvest areas, and now that area does not flood, and it has an outdoor classroom in it. Another quick example of flooding in LA and working with this Mary Jackson school to create a stormwater garden that was a test. So we kind of did a facial for the ground, working with a lot of our Emerald Necklace stewards who come from local high schools, making sure that we could capture that water, keep it from entering the drain, improve the soil, and create some outdoor spaces with biodiversity. And of course, adding tree canopy. So once we did that successfully, we were able to take the rest of the campus, which featured a lot of asphalt and drainage problems, and create, by removing the asphalt, areas where the wood chips and recycled urban lumber were adjacent to pervious pavement. So we didn't have the vector threats anymore because the water drains straight through. And very importantly for community inclusivity, removing asphalt, which for some reason facilities people think is the answer to everything. Any problem you have, asphalt. Whereas we know that it doesn't really create inclusive spaces. It bumps and lumps and responds to lots of hot UV. And so we are advocating really looking at, if you make inclusive spaces for children who are ADA, who are disabled, you're making a better space for everybody. So here's the machine taking out the pervious, and here's Allison's on the call now today. Workforce training, making our rain harvest boxes that were, per the engineer's instructions, we're making depressions in certain parts of the campus so we can capture the water and not have it be a drainage issue, bringing the boulders down from the forest and connecting the dots between the students' campus and the bigger public lands, having an ADA area so students in wheelchairs can transfer to a boulder, bringing a tree into campus as a fun plaything, bringing some huge recycled lumber. So in addition to the tree canopy, the students also just have contact with trees to play with, sit on, jump on, climb on. So here's our little river. You can see the pervious pavement. This particular school theme is dolphins. So we were able to connect the dots between capturing water up in the watershed near the mountains and native plants, and then feeling like you're a steward of the bigger watershed. So long-term sustainability for these campuses, we need nonprofit leads and instigators. We need, all these different layers of people to participate and really enjoy the work together that we're doing to change the environment, and people of multiple generations, students from local high schools and colleges coming back to make nurturing spaces for their siblings and younger people, and having that joy of biodiversity and a new set of spaces to discover each other and to work together in bringing environmental education principles in, and the kind of questions we have for our partners in boards of education, looking at how to integrate science, scope, and sequence, and celebrate when we actually do get one of these done. And we're advocating right now to constitute an expert advisory panel in California to really make sure we don't go backwards with some of the things, and to look at doing different case studies, the cost benefits that are accruing on different levels each time we do one of these green schoolyards. We love the work of the Pacific Institute. We're in alignment with that multi-benefit proposal, and we're really, really big on getting rid of the idea that procurement is limited to either asphalt replacement or repair. We really want to help the schools have a lot more choices, and be much better at serving the students. And I think with what just happened in Altadena, with over 10,000 people losing homes and businesses and schools being impacted, it just reminds me, if a teacher lost their home, which 80 of the teachers out of PUSD did, and if families lost their home, there's nothing more important than the consistency of a safe school that gives some stability during a time of crisis. So I just thank you for the opportunity to present, and I couldn't be more convicted about this work.
Thank you so much, Claire. Wow. So many amazing examples, so many good notes of why we should be doing this, even more now than ever. There are so many wonderful questions. Like always, if we don't get through them all, we'll try to address them with a recording later. Yeah, just thank you, Kristian. Thank you, Aki. Thank you, Claire. We have just a couple minutes. A few people are asking a little bit about maintenance, and we know that that looks a little bit different here in the United States versus Finland. Someone is asking about the maintenance in Finland. Is the school responsible for the new maintenance of the natural features? And if so, who is doing that work? And was there any pushback from the maintenance workers on change in their responsibilities? And that question is either for Kristian or Aki.
Well, yes, kindergartens in the smaller municipalities, it's the school or the municipality who takes care of the maintenance. There is no like different division for park or schools, but we have like the school maintenance group who takes the kindergartens also. The park maintenance doesn't come into school grounds, so yeah. But
can I add about Espoo? It's a well, in Finland it's a large city next to Helsinki, but in reality it's maybe 200,000 people. But there was a pilot daycare, the first rewilded daycare that followed our advices. So then it was outsourced to a company, the maintenance by Espoo City, and the company owner was very interested in that what he should do, and then he told that the amount of work did not change. The change was that the workers were more committed to their work because it was not so monotonous. So they did many things instead of just cutting the lawn. So this is what my experience.
Yes. Anything you want to add to that, Claire, about different responsibilities?
I mean, I would say it's a constant challenge. It's the cultural issue we face in seed change of what constitutes a safe, healthy school campus. So that's why we have our stewardship program, and we do events. When we first open a school, we'll do them, once every 3 weeks, once every month, and we'll bring people from part of workforce training, local conservation corps, our staff, parents, PTA, kids from the conservation corps, the AmeriCorps California Climate Action Team, and local community colleges and local universities, service clubs. Like, we bring the whole community in to help care for the things that are too much for the facilities department. Like someone mentioned wood chips, they're only ADA if they're filled to the top. So we do ramps with concrete to make sure that a student in a wheelchair can get in and access things. But we help the school districts with those items as part of our workforce training.
Okay. Let's see, something that is a quick question. So if someone is talking about their school as an asphalt island, I can identify with that with my elementary school. If a school or district is somewhat opposed to breaking up the concrete or asphalt, are there other options for rewilding? And I do want to note that Aki put in the comment a note that you can put planter boxes on any surface. But anything else that you all want to share in our last minute together?
Well, you can put anything on the asphalt, any organic matter if they allow that, like wood chips, and this has also been done. And the planting boxes, they can contain also dead wood, as in one of my photos, and then you could also have larger planting boxes that contain trees. Of course, they are not giant trees. This is what you can of course use. Plants against walls. So that's also one option.
I think we always say just get one tree well, like breach the hermetic seal once and get that tree in, and then that's a beachhead, for the next tree and the next tree. Like, nope, no project is too small to get the ball rolling.
I love that. Yeah, no project is too small. Every little bit counts. Thank you again, Claire, Aki, and Kristian. We do have to wrap up, but thank you everyone for joining today. Michaela dropped in the chat that our next webinar will be on February 20th. We hope to see you there. We'll share more questions with the recording soon. And take care, be well, and thanks for all the ways you show up in your own communities. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. And thank you for the webinars before, for the series. Very nice.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for all your work that you're doing with your research and everything.
Love it. Love it. Take care.
All right, take care.